This video is brought to you by True Tales of Buried Treasure, the largest collection of old treasure magazines in the West. On our website, you can search for individual treasure stories by region or by our original magazines themselves. To pay us a visit, please click on the link in the description. Enjoy.
Treasures and mines are discovered and then lost. I know it all too well, for it happened to me. In the year 1940, a young one's adventures were often dictated by their place of residence, and as fate would have it, my abode was nestled amidst this vast expanse of the Black Hawk Mine property, nestled between the quaint mining settlements of Randsburg and Red Mountain, located in the heart of California. During these pre-Polish World War II days, the mines surrounding Red Mountain and Randsburg were still abuzz with activity. Oh, the thrill of witnessing the commotion at the renowned Yellow Aster, a mine that had yielded over $35 million worth of gold. But even our very own school property boasted a functioning mine where the older lads were given permission to delve into its depths, provided their academic prowess was up to par. Our leisure hours were predominantly spent exploring the desert that enveloped us in search of that one monumental discovery. One fine Saturday morning, I loaded empty sugar sacks into my pockets, stashed a sandwich, and slung a diminutive canteen of water onto my bicycle handlebars. With determination in my heart, I embarked on a 2-mile journey due south of the Black Hawk Mine, along a dusty path that terminated midway. Once the road ceased, I continued on foot. The terrain was infested with perilous sidewinder rattlesnakes, notorious for their stealthy nature, refusing to give any warning signs. However, I held little trepidation, having dispatched countless serpents with the nearest rock. After all, the 13-year-old prospector knows no fear. That area is full of abandoned mining shafts from 10 feet to 100 feet deep, and they almost never have a warning fence, marker, or enclosure. This particular day, I discovered a number of shafts that were new to me and demanded checking. After floundering around for several hours, an odd buzzing or droning noise came to my ears, led to the snot by hearing alone. I was surprised to find a huge colony of ground bees. There seemed to be millions. Each had its own hole in the sandy ground, and each was busy digging deeper. I watched the industry for perhaps 5 minutes. The bees would disappear into a hole, be gone for a minute or so, then pop back to the surface to deposit a grain of sand, a tiny piece of gravel, or as I discovered later, a tiny garnet. Since they didn't seem to mind my presence, I grew bolder and moved closer to inspect the glistening little mounds of sparkling material being piled up much like small anthills. Sparkling? Then it dawned on me. The bees were digging up a lot of pure gold. I had heard my stepfather and his friends discuss the approximate value of ores, and they all agreed on one thing. Anytime you can see the gold in a sample, it's rich indeed. Excited, I darted over to the nearest little mound and scooped all that I could into an empty sugar sack. I wasn't fast enough, however, and several irate bees hit me hard. That was the end of my prospecting. In a flurry of kicked up sand, I ran off. About 2 hours later, I was back home and busy washing out my sample in a gold pan. Even before, had reduced the material to perhaps half of what I'd started with. I knew that I had something worth shouting about. Pure golden grain showed everywhere in the pan. But this time, my stepfather, Charles B. Matthews, came around the corner. Whether more concerned with getting a fresh cup of coffee, or maybe because he was used to seeing me playing at mining, he ignored my excited statement that I'd found a lot of gold. But he forgot his steaming coffee the instant I shoved the gold-laden pan under his nose. In fact, he spilled most of it down his shirt. Being an experienced miner, he soon had the remaining material in the pan reduced to nearly pure gold. A good and fairly accurate rule of thumb way of measuring gold is to figure that 1 teaspoon equals 1 troy ounce. My pan contained about 1 ounce, from certainly no more than 5 pounds of ore. Rapid calculation told my stepfather that the indicated value was about $14,600 per ton, and this was when gold sold for $35 per troy ounce. Of course, my stepfather was eager to find out where I had located the rich sample, and I told him about the bees. I added that I wouldn't have any trouble finding the spot again. Since it was nearly dark, he decided to wait until morning to go back to the bee mine. Shortly after daylight, we piled into our old Ford and headed down the dirt road to the south. After several hours of hearing me say, "I think it's over this way," my stepfather began to lose his temper and patience. This only added to my confusion, and finally, in tears, I had to admit that the mine was lost. My stepfather, understandably upset, tramped around the area the rest of the day, and our relationship grew more strained by the minute. I promised to keep coming back until I found the bees. During the remaining 3 months that we lived there, I must have walked hundreds of miles through the sand and sagebrush searching for the small area, perhaps 10 feet in diameter, where the bees piled their gold-filled mounds. I never found it again. Somewhere about 2 miles south of now-abandoned Black Hawk Mine, there may well be a fortune waiting for some lucky prospector. The gold I found may only be a small, rich vein into which the bees dug, or the entire area may be rich. I visited the old Black Hawk site a couple of years ago, and one lived the old memories. Mine shafts, bees, and gold in my pan. But try as I might, I couldn't hear any bees. After all these years, one could hardly expect to find bees living in the same place. However, the sandy soil is not conducive to vegetation, and the desert receives little rainfall, so the area may still show traces of where the bees once lived. Some prospector may still stumble onto the bees' mine and become rich. I hope you're the lucky one.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to read the original article or purchase the magazine from which it was taken, please check out our website, truetalesofburiedtreasure.com.